All right, friends, to get started, we need to obviously access the rear area of the engine. To get to that, let's get this right out of the way. There's going to be a 10mm headed bolt straight down right here. Go ahead and remove that. Ours is broken, so we're not necessarily worried about it. After that, we're going to loosen up this clamp and get this right off. Set this aside. Now that that's out of the way, we have a nice clear view of our distributor. That's located right here. You're going to see that you have 8 spark plug wires going to it, and then you're going to have 1 coil wire that goes to it as well. We need to make sure we mark those wires so we can remember exactly where they go to on the distributor. They don't necessarily have to be in any particular order, an exception of just however you can remember. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark this one with a 1, or at least 1 line. The next one, 2 lines. Next one, 3 lines. And like I said, this isn't the firing order. This is just so I can remember where to put them back. Now that we have all of our wires clearly marked, let's go ahead and start pulling them off of here. Now that we have the wires off there, let's go ahead and blow some air and get any debris out of the way. Now that it's nice and blown off, we're going to continue on by removing our electrical connector that's located on the driver's side of the distributor. Just go ahead and lift up on that tab, and then we should be able to slide this right off. If I can get my finger under it. There we are. Always check your electrical connectors, make sure you don't see any funny colors. This looks great, so let's just set it aside. Now that the wires are off of here, we need to continue on by using a crayon like this, and essentially we want to find where cylinder 1 marking is going to be. So I can see there's number 1 right on my distributor cap here. I'm going to go ahead and line it up and just put a little mark with my crayon, which essentially tells me that that's where I'm going to want my rotor to be. Once you pull this off, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's going to be 2 mounting bolts on this, 1 on the forward end and 1 on the back right there. Let's go ahead and loosen those up and we'll get this cover off here. Okay, let's carefully lift this up. So I can see that my contact point is located all the way over here. What we need to do now is go down to our engine's crank, which is located on the front of the engine. We're going to go ahead and turn that so our timing marks line up, and then we're going to come back up here and test to see if this is lined up with our mark over here. So now what we need to do is go ahead and mark that actual crank pulley itself. You're going to find an area where it has a slot, and then of course if you were to look up in between the crank pulley area where the harmonic balancer is and the engine, all the way up there, you're going to see an area that almost looks like it's 2 mountains, or at least an area that has a slot on it as well. We want to line up those 2 markings as close as possible. So I'm just going to take my tool. I'm going to come right up in between here, and I'm going to get onto that crank pulley bolt. Now I'm just going to carefully turn over the engine until it comes around and those 2 lines line up. Now, if you're going to be replacing your distributor with an adjustable one, you're going to want to make sure you locate and mark the actual point of where this distributor is in comparison to where it mounts into the engine. With your vehicle on top dead center on the combustion stroke, the rotor should be facing in this general direction, which essentially is towards the driver's side front of the vehicle. The next thing I want to do is come along the passenger side here, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the mounting bolt that holds this down. Let's go ahead and remove that right from the engine. All right. So we've got our bolt and our bracket. Let's set those aside. Now we're just going to carefully lift up on this, and then I'm going to pull this AC line a little bit so we can pull it out and away. There we are. Okay, friends, now it's going to be time to get our brand new distributor in here. Something that I want to mention real quick is the area where this is pointing. Essentially what we want to do is kind of have it set a little bit counterclockwise from where it's going to eventually land as we push this down, because as we turn it, this is going to eventually work its way like this. Let's go ahead and slide this in here. Obviously, you want to make sure that the gasket's on there and it's in good condition. Just going to slowly slide this down, and then we're just going to watch that rotor and make sure it falls down as it should as well. That looks perfect. That's exactly where the original one came out of. So let's go ahead and put in our mounting bolt. For distributors that are adjustable, you can go ahead and give the base a little twist like this, and that's going to help you line up your alignment marks for the timing. Get it as close as possible to where it originally was. Something that I want to mention real quick is with your base plate lined up parallel to the back of your intake manifold, it's going to be a little bit at an angle, you want to pay attention to where that rotor ends up. If you happen to notice that the contact point isn't lined up with where it needs to be, more than likely that's due to the oil pump, which is located down inside the engine. What you would do at that point is just carefully lift this up. We're going to try not to spin this too much, just as far as it goes on its own. And then we're going to get inside there with a flat screwdriver and we're going to make our adjustment. And then go ahead and snug up your bolt. So I'm just going to reach under here with my wrench, snug it up. The torque for this is actually 18 foot-pounds. It's a little bit difficult to get to with a socket. Let's go ahead and plug in our distributor. Listen for a click, give it a nice tug. Okay friends, now it's time to get this back on here. Just something I'm going to mention real quick is you're going to have your clamp, and then over on this side you should have that mounting bolt. Ours was broken, so I don't necessarily have the bolt, but I'm just going to go ahead and slide this right on here. Line it up so the mounting bolt's here. Go ahead and start that in. We're going to move along to snugging this up.